Imagine, if you will, that you are lying beneath a vast and ancient sky. The air is still and soft, and above you, scattered like tiny seeds of light across an endless dark garden, the stars are shining. They have always been there, these gentle points of brightness, watching over the earth for billions upon billions of years. And among them, if you look very carefully, you might notice something curious. Some of those lights do not behave quite like the others. They wander. They drift. They trace slow, mysterious paths across the heavens, night after night, month after month, as if they have somewhere quiet to go. These wandering lights are the planets. And tonight, as you settle into the soft comfort of wherever you are resting, we are going to take a long, peaceful journey together to discover how these celestial wanderers came to bear the names of ancient gods. We will drift through time, back thousands of years, to when people first looked up and wondered what those moving lights could be. We will meet the gods of Greece and Rome, powerful and capricious beings who ruled over love and war, the seas and the skies, messengers and mysteries. And we will see how, through centuries of watching and wondering, human beings wove their myths into the very fabric of the cosmos. This is a story meant for quiet moments. It is meant for the space between waking and sleeping, for those gentle hours when the mind is ready to wander, but not to worry. So, if you feel your eyes growing heavy, if you feel yourself beginning to drift, that is perfectly fine. Let the words wash over you like a soft tide. Let the ancient stories carry you gently toward rest. And if you enjoy drifting off to calm science stories like this one, you might like to know that you can gently support this channel by liking this video and subscribing for more sleepy science nights. There is no pressure, of course. Just a soft invitation, like the starlight itself, always there if you want it. Now, let us begin at the very beginning, in a time so long ago that the Earth itself was young. Imagine the world as it was thousands of years before the first cities rose, before the first written words were carved into clay or painted onto papyrus. Human beings lived in small groups, wandering across the land, following the animals they hunted and the plants they gathered. They had no electric lights, no glowing screens, no street lamps or neon signs. When the sun set, the world became dark in a way that is almost impossible for us to imagine today. And in that darkness, the sky came alive. Every clear night, the stars emerged in their countless thousands, a river of light stretching from horizon to horizon. The moon rose and set, waxing and waning in its eternal cycle. And the people watched. They watched because the sky was beautiful, yes, but also because it was useful. The stars told them when to plant their crops, when to expect the rains, when the seasons would change. The sky was a calendar, a map, a guide. It was also a mystery, vast and deep, and human beings have always loved mysteries. Among the thousands of stars, our ancestors noticed that most of them stayed fixed in their patterns. The great constellations, the shapes they saw in the stars, rose and set with the seasons, but never changed their forms. Orion the hunter always had his belt of 3 bright stars. The Great Bear always prowled the northern sky. The stars were reliable, predictable, eternal. But there were a few lights that did not follow the rules. These lights moved. Not quickly, not dramatically, but over the course of weeks and months, they drifted against the background of the fixed stars, tracing slow paths through the constellations. The ancient Greeks had a word for these wandering lights. They called them planetes, which means wanderers. And from that ancient word, we get our modern word, planets. To the ancient observers, these wandering lights were deeply mysterious. They were clearly not ordinary stars. They moved with purpose, or so it seemed, as if they were alive, as if they had wills of their own. And because human beings have always tried to make sense of the world by telling stories, the ancient peoples began to weave the planets into their myths. They gave the wanderers names. They gave them personalities. They made them gods. The story of how the planets got their names is really two stories braided together. One is the story of astronomy, of patient watching and careful recording, of trying to understand the movements of the heavens through observation and reason. The other is the story of mythology, of gods and heroes, of love and war and trickery and fate. For thousands of years, these two stories were not separate. They were one. The sky was not just a place of physics and mathematics. It was a place of meaning, of divine presence, of stories written in light. Let us travel now to ancient Mesopotamia, to the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, in what is now Iraq. This was one of the cradles of civilization, a place where some of the first cities arose, where writing was invented, where people first began to keep systematic records of the movements of the stars. The Babylonians, who lived in this region thousands of years before the Common Era, were among the greatest astronomers of the ancient world. They watched the sky with patient, careful eyes, and they recorded what they saw on clay tablets in their wedge-shaped cuneiform script. The Babylonians knew about the 5 wandering lights that could be seen with the naked eye. They knew that these lights moved through the constellations of the zodiac, the band of stars that circles the sky along the path the sun appears to travel. And they associated each of these wandering lights with one of their gods. The brightest of the wanderers, a dazzling light that appeared in the evening sky after sunset or in the morning sky before dawn, they associated with their goddess of love and war, Ishtar. The red wanderer, the one that glowed like a drop of blood against the darkness, they associated with their god of war and plague, Nergal. The fastest wanderer, the one that never strayed far from the sun and darted back and forth along the horizon, they associated with their god of wisdom and writing, Nabu. The largest wanderer, the one that shone with a steady, kingly light, they associated with their chief god, Marduk. And the slowest wanderer, the one that crept through the constellations so gradually that it took nearly 30 years to complete one circuit of the sky, they associated with their god of agriculture and time, Ninurta. These associations were not arbitrary. The Babylonians looked at the qualities of each wandering light and matched them to the qualities of their gods. The brightest light for the goddess of beauty, the red light for the god of blood and battle, the fastest light for the swift messenger god, the largest light for the king of the gods, the slowest light for the ancient god of time and harvest, The sky was a mirror of their mythology, and their mythology was a mirror of the sky. As centuries passed and civilizations rose and fell, the knowledge of the Babylonians spread westward, carried by traders and scholars, conquerors and refugees. It reached the shores of the Mediterranean, where a new civilization was beginning to flourish among the rocky islands and coastal cities of Greece. The ancient Greeks were great lovers of knowledge. They were philosophers and mathematicians, poets and playwrights. They inherited much of their astronomical learning from the Babylonians, but they transformed it, adding their own observations, their own theories, their own myths. And they had their own gods, a whole family of divine beings who lived on the slopes of Mount Olympus and meddled endlessly in the affairs of mortals. The Greek gods were not distant, abstract beings. They were vividly personal, with loves and hatreds, jealousies and desires. They quarreled and reconciled, played tricks and fell in love. They were, in many ways, very much like human beings, only more powerful, more beautiful, and immortal. And the Greeks, like the Babylonians before them, looked up at the wandering lights in the sky and saw their gods there. The brightest wanderer, the one the Babylonians had called Ishtar, the Greeks called Aphrodite, after their goddess of love and beauty. Aphrodite was said to have been born from the sea foam, rising from the waves in all her radiant glory. She was the most beautiful of all the goddesses, and the wandering light that bore her name was the most beautiful of all the planets, shining so brightly that it could cast shadows on a dark night. The Red Wanderer, the one the Babylonians had called Nergal, the Greeks called Ares, after their god of war. Ares was a fierce and violent god, feared even by the other Olympians. He delighted in the clash of battle, in the screams of the wounded and the groans of the dying. The wandering light that bore his name glowed red like blood, like fire, like the eyes of a warrior in the heat of combat. The swift wanderer, the one the Babylonians had called Nabu, the Greeks called Hermes, after their messenger god. Hermes was the fastest of the Olympians, a clever trickster who wore winged sandals and a winged hat. He carried messages between the gods and mortals, guided souls to the underworld, and protected travelers and thieves. The wandering light that bore his name was the fastest of the planets, darting back and forth near the horizon, never straying far from the sun, as if it were always hurrying on some urgent errand. The largest wanderer, the one the Babylonians had called Marduk, the Greeks called Zeus, after their king of the gods. Zeus was the mightiest of the Olympians, the ruler of the sky and the thunderbolt, the father of gods and men. He sat on his throne on Mount Olympus and oversaw the affairs of the universe. The wandering light that bore his name was the largest and most majestic of the planets, shining with a steady, regal glow. The slowest wanderer, the one the Babylonians had called Ninurta, the Greeks called Kronos, after the ancient Titan who was the father of Zeus. Kronos was a figure from the oldest myths, a god of time and harvest who had ruled the universe before being overthrown by his own children. The wandering light that bore his name moved so slowly through the heavens that it seemed almost frozen, as if it belonged to an earlier, more ancient age. So, The Greeks took the Babylonian associations and translated them into their own mythology. The same wandering lights, the same observed qualities, but different names, different stories, different gods. And this pattern would continue as the torch of civilization passed from Greece to Rome. Let us rest here for a moment in the quiet space between one civilization and the next. Let your breathing slow. Let your body settle more deeply into wherever you are resting. The night is long, and there is no hurry. The stars will wait for us. The planets will continue their slow wanderings, whether we are watching or not. There is comfort in that, in the patience of the cosmos, in the eternal dance of light that has been going on for billions of years and will continue for billions more. When you are ready, we will continue our journey, drifting gently from Greece to Rome, from the gods of Olympus to the gods of the capital. The story is about to take the turn that will give us the names we still use today. The names that astronomers and school children speak. The names that are written on star charts and spacecraft. The names that have become part of our shared human heritage. Rome began as a small settlement on the banks of the Tiber River in Italy, a cluster of huts on a few low hills. But over the centuries, through war and diplomacy, conquest and assimilation, Rome grew into one of the greatest empires the world has ever seen. At its height, the Roman Empire stretched from the misty islands of Britain to the sun-baked deserts of North Africa, from the forests of Germany to the mountains of Persia. And as Rome conquered, Rome absorbed. The Romans were great borrowers, taking the best ideas, technologies, and traditions of the peoples they encountered and making them their own. When Rome conquered Greece, the Romans encountered a civilization that was, in many ways, more sophisticated than their own. Greek philosophy, Greek art, Greek literature, Greek science, these things dazzled the Romans, and Greek religion, with its vivid, personal gods and its rich mythology, appealed to them deeply. The Romans had their own gods, of course, old Italian deities of the hearth and the field, but they quickly recognized that many of their gods were similar to the Greek ones. And so they began to merge the two traditions, identifying their gods with their Greek counterparts, adopting Greek myths and making them Roman. Jupiter, the Roman king of the gods, became identified with the Greek Zeus. Both were sky gods, wielders of the thunderbolt, rulers of the divine realm. Mars, the Roman god of war, became identified with the Greek Ares. Both were fierce warriors, patrons of soldiers and battles. Venus, the Roman goddess of love, became identified with the Greek Aphrodite. Both were beautiful beyond measure, the embodiment of desire and passion. Mercury, the Roman messenger god, became identified with the Greek Hermes. Both were swift and clever, guides of travelers and souls. Saturn, the Roman god of agriculture and time, became identified with the Greek Kronos. Both were ancient figures associated with the distant past and the cycles of the seasons. This process of identification was called Interpretatio Romana, the Roman interpretation. It allowed the Romans to absorb Greek culture while still feeling that they were honoring their own traditions. And it had a profound effect on the names of the planets. Because the Romans, like the Greeks and the Babylonians before them, looked up at the wandering lights and saw their gods there. But now, the gods had Roman names. The brightest wanderer became Venus. The red wanderer became Mars. The swift wanderer became Mercury. The largest wanderer became Jupiter. The slowest wanderer became Saturn. And these are the names that have survived. These are the names we still use today, more than 2,000 years after the Roman Empire reached its peak and began its long, slow decline. Latin, the language of Rome, became the language of science and scholarship in Europe, and so the Latin names for the planets became the standard names used by astronomers from Copernicus to Galileo to Newton to the scientists of today. Let us now take our time and explore each of these wanderers individually, learning both the astronomical facts and the mythological stories that give them their names. We will move outward from the sun, beginning with the swift messenger and ending with the distant lord of the underworld. Along the way, we will discover how the visible qualities of each planet, their brightness, their color, their speed, their position in the sky, shaped the ancient associations with divine beings. And we will see how, in a very real sense, the gods of Rome still watch over us from the night sky. Mercury is the closest planet to the sun. It orbits our star at an average distance of only about 36 million miles, so close that a year on Mercury, one complete orbit, takes only 88 Earth days. This closeness to the sun means that Mercury is always difficult to see. It never wanders far from the brilliant glow of dawn or dusk. You can only glimpse it low on the horizon in the twilight before it is swallowed by the light of day or lost in the darkness of night. To the ancient watchers, this behavior made Mercury seem quick and elusive, like a messenger darting in and out of the palace of the sun god. It was there one moment and gone the next, always hurrying, always on some urgent business. And so the Romans named it after Mercury, their god of messengers, travelers, and commerce. Mercury, in Roman mythology, was a god of many roles. He was the messenger of the gods, carrying divine commands from Jupiter to mortals and other gods. He wore winged sandals called talaria and a winged hat called a petasus, which allowed him to fly faster than the wind. He carried a staff called a caduceus, entwined with two serpents, which became a symbol of his authority. But Mercury was more than just a messenger. He was also the god of commerce and trade, watching over merchants and their transactions. He was the god of travelers, protecting those who journeyed on the roads and paths of the empire. And he was the god of thieves and tricksters, a clever and cunning figure who could outwit even the other gods. There is a story that when Mercury was only a baby, he snuck out of his cradle, stole 50 cattle from the god Apollo, and hid them so cleverly that Apollo could not find them. When Apollo finally discovered the theft and confronted the infant Mercury, the baby god played innocent so convincingly that Apollo could not help but laugh and forgive him. This combination of speed, cleverness, and elusiveness made Mercury the perfect name for the swift planet that darts along the horizon, never far from the sun, always difficult to catch. The planet Mercury is small, only about 3,000 miles in diameter, making it the smallest planet in our solar system. Its surface is cratered and barren, baked by the nearby sun on one side and frozen on the other. During the long Mercurian day, which lasts for 176 Earth days because of the planet's slow rotation, temperatures on the sunlit side can reach 800 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt lead. On the night side, temperatures can plummet to nearly 300 degrees below zero Fahrenheit. It is a world of extremes, a harsh and lifeless place, but a fascinating one. There is a quiet beauty in imagining the messenger god racing across that scorched and cratered landscape, his winged sandals barely touching the ground, his caduceus held high, carrying some message of cosmic importance from the throne of the Sun King to the outer realms of the solar system. Of course, there is no actual god there, just rock and dust and the silence of space. But the name remains, a gift from the ancient Romans, a thread connecting our modern understanding of the cosmos to the myths and dreams of long ago. Let us drift now a little farther from the Sun to the second planet, the one that shines more brightly than any other in the night sky. This is Venus, and her story is perhaps the most beautiful of all. Venus orbits the Sun at an average distance of about 67 million miles. Its year is about 225 Earth days long. But what makes Venus remarkable to the naked eye is not its distance or its orbit, but its brilliance. Venus is the brightest object in the night sky after the moon. When it appears in the evening sky after sunset, it blazes in the west like a lamp hung in the heavens. When it appears in the morning sky before dawn, it heralds the coming day with its radiant glow. The ancients called it the evening star and the morning star, and for a long time, some people thought these were two different objects. But eventually, the careful watchers realized that they were one and the same, a single wandering light that shifted from one side of the sun to the other. The brightness of Venus comes from its thick clouds. The planet is wrapped in a dense atmosphere of carbon dioxide with clouds of sulfuric acid that reflect sunlight beautifully. More than 70% of the sunlight that hits Venus is reflected back into space, making the planet shine like a pearl against the dark velvet of the night. To the ancient Romans, this dazzling beauty could only belong to one goddess, Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, and desire. Venus was one of the most important goddesses in the Roman pantheon. She was the mother of Aeneas, the legendary Trojan hero who, according to Roman mythology, fled the burning city of Troy and eventually founded the lineage that would lead to Romulus and Remus, the founders of Rome itself. So Venus was not just the goddess of love. She was the divine ancestor of the Roman people, the mother of their nation. In mythology, Venus was irresistible. Gods and mortals alike fell under her spell. She was married to Vulcan, the lame god of the forge, but she had many lovers, most famously Mars, the god of war. The contrast between the beautiful goddess of love and the violent god of war captured the imagination of the ancients, and we will return to this pair when we discuss Mars. Venus was often depicted rising from the sea, born from the foam of the waves. This image, captured in countless paintings and sculptures over the centuries, shows her standing in a giant seashell, her long hair flowing around her, her expression serene and confident. She was the embodiment of grace and allure, the divine source of all romantic love and physical desire. It is fitting that the brightest planet bears her name. When you see Venus shining in the twilight, blazing with a light that seems too bright to be real, you can understand why the ancients thought they were looking at the goddess herself, descending from the heavens to bless the evening with her presence. But the planet Venus hides a terrible secret behind its beautiful face. Beneath those reflective clouds lies a world of unimaginable hostility. The surface of Venus is hotter than Mercury, even though Venus is farther from the Sun. This is because of a runaway greenhouse effect. The thick carbon dioxide atmosphere traps heat so efficiently that surface temperatures reach about 900 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt zinc and lead. The atmospheric pressure on Venus is crushing, about 90 times the pressure at sea level on Earth, equivalent to being half a mile underwater in our oceans. And those beautiful clouds? They are made of sulfuric acid, corrosive and deadly. If you were to land on Venus, you would be simultaneously roasted, crushed, and dissolved. The Soviet Union sent several spacecraft to Venus in the 1960s and 70s, and even with heavy shielding, they only survived for a few minutes to an hour on the surface before succumbing to the hellish conditions. So, the goddess of love guards her domain fiercely. The brightest light in the night sky conceals the most hostile environment in the inner solar system. There is something almost mythologically appropriate about that, a reminder that beauty can be dangerous, that the things we desire most can sometimes destroy us. As we continue our journey outward, we pass the orbit of Earth, our own home, the blue marble floating in the darkness. Earth is the only planet in our solar system not named after a Roman god. Its name comes from Germanic and Old English words meaning ground or soil. In many ways, Earth is the exception, the anomaly, the place where the naming conventions of the ancients do not apply. This is because the ancients did not think of Earth as a planet at all. They thought of it as the center of the universe, the fixed point around which everything else revolved. It was not until the 16th century, when Copernicus proposed that the Earth orbited the Sun along with the other planets, that our world took its place among the wanderers. And by then, its name was already fixed, so we will leave Earth behind, with its oceans and forests, its mountains and deserts, its billions of human beings looking up at the same stars that their ancestors watched thousands of years ago. We will cross the cold gulf of space to the fourth planet from the Sun, the Red Wanderer, the world of war. Mars orbits the Sun at an average distance of about 142 million miles. Its year is about 687 Earth days long, nearly twice as long as ours. But what makes Mars unmistakable in the night sky is its color. Mars glows red, not a bright, fiery red, but a deep, rusty, blood-like red that stands out against the white and yellow of the other stars and planets. This red color comes from iron oxide, rust, which covers much of the Martian surface. Mars is a dusty desert world, covered in red sand and red rocks beneath a thin, pinkish sky. When the light of the sun reflects off this rusty surface, it gives the planet its distinctive hue. To the ancient watchers, that red color could mean only one thing: blood. And blood meant war. Mars was the Roman god of war, one of the most important and widely worshipped deities in the Roman pantheon. Unlike the Greek Ares, who was often portrayed as a brutal and chaotic figure, disliked even by the other gods, Mars was a more dignified and respected figure in Roman culture. Rome was a warrior society built on conquest and military prowess, and Mars was the patron of soldiers, the guardian of the Roman legions, the divine father of Romulus and Remus themselves. According to Roman legend, Mars fell in love with a Vestal virgin named Rhea Silvia. Vestal virgins were priestesses of the goddess Vesta, sworn to remain chaste for 30 years. Rhea Silvia's union with Mars was forbidden, but it produced twin sons, Romulus and Remus. The twins were abandoned by their mortal family, but were saved and nursed by a she-wolf. When they grew to manhood, they founded a city, and after Romulus killed Remus in a quarrel, that city became Rome. So Mars was not just the god of war. He was the father of Rome's founding hero, the divine ancestor of the Roman people. Mars was also famous in mythology for his love affair with Venus, the beautiful goddess of love and the fierce god of war. Locked in a passionate embrace, represented the union of opposites, the way that love and strife, creation and destruction are intertwined in the fabric of existence. When their affair was discovered by Venus's husband, Vulcan, he trapped the lovers in an unbreakable net and displayed them to the other gods, causing great embarrassment. But the love between Mars and Venus continued, a symbol of the irresistible attraction between contrary forces. In the night sky, Mars and Venus are never far apart in their wanderings, both moving through the band of the zodiac, sometimes drawing close to each other, sometimes pulling away. Perhaps the ancients saw this as a celestial dance of love, the god of war and the goddess of love, pursuing and retreating, forever bound together in the endless cycles of the heavens. The planet Mars has captured human imagination more than any other world in our solar system. For centuries, people have wondered if there might be life there. In the late 1800s, some astronomers thought they saw canals on Mars, straight lines crisscrossing the surface, and they speculated that these might be the work of an intelligent civilization, perhaps irrigating their dying world. This theory was eventually disproven, but it inspired a golden age of science fiction, with stories of Martian invasions and voyages to the Red Planet filling the pages of books and magazines. Today, we know that Mars is a cold, dry, lifeless desert. Its thin atmosphere, mostly carbon dioxide, provides almost no protection from the radiation of space. Temperatures on Mars can range from about 70 degrees Fahrenheit on a summer day near the equator to minus 200 degrees Fahrenheit at the poles in winter. The planet has the largest volcano in the solar system, Olympus Mons, which rises nearly 72,000 feet above the surrounding plains, almost 3 times the height of Mount Everest. It also has a vast canyon system, Valles Marineris, which stretches for about 2,500 miles, long enough to span the entire continental United States. But despite its current barrenness, there is evidence that Mars once had liquid water on its surface. River valleys and lake beds have been spotted by orbiting spacecraft, suggesting that billions of years ago, Mars may have been a warmer, wetter world. Some scientists speculate that life may have arisen there during this ancient wet period, and that traces of that life, perhaps in the form of fossils or even dormant microbes, might still exist beneath the Martian surface. This possibility makes Mars one of the most important targets for future exploration. As we leave the rust-red world behind and continue our journey outward, we cross a vast belt of rocky debris, the asteroid belt, where millions of small bodies orbit the Sun, remnants of a planet that never formed. Beyond this belt, we enter the realm of the giants, the outer solar system, where the planets are vast and the distances immense. Let yourself drift for a moment. Feel the quiet emptiness of space around you, the silence and the darkness. The inner planets are small and rocky, close to the Sun's warmth. But out here, beyond the asteroid belt, things are different. The planets are made mostly of gas and liquid, with no solid surfaces to stand on. They are cold and strange and beautiful, and they bear the names of the greatest gods. Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system. It is so large that more than 1,300 Earths could fit inside it. Its diameter is about 86,800 miles, more than 11 times the diameter of Earth. When you see Jupiter in the night sky, it shines with a steady golden light, brighter than any star, majestic and calm. To the ancient Romans, such a magnificent wanderer could only be the king of the gods himself, Jupiter. Jupiter, called Jove in some texts, was the supreme deity of the Roman pantheon. He was the god of the sky and thunder, the ruler of the heavens, the father of gods and men. His Greek counterpart was Zeus, and like Zeus, Jupiter was depicted as a powerful, bearded figure seated on a throne, holding a thunderbolt in one hand and a scepter in the other. Jupiter's temple on the Capitoline Hill in Rome was one of the most important religious sites in the ancient world. Roman generals would climb the hill to offer thanks to Jupiter after their military victories. Roman citizens swore their most solemn oaths by Jupiter. The very word jovial, meaning cheerful and good-humored, comes from Jupiter's name, reflecting the belief that those born under the influence of the planet Jupiter would be blessed with a pleasant disposition. In mythology, Jupiter overthrew his father Saturn to become king of the gods. Saturn had been warned that one of his children would overthrow him, so he swallowed each of them as they were born. But Jupiter's mother, the goddess Ops, hid her youngest child and gave Saturn a stone wrapped in swaddling clothes to swallow instead. Jupiter grew up in secret, and when he was old enough, he returned to challenge his father, forced him to regurgitate the other children, and led his siblings in a great war against the old gods, the Titans. After the Titans were defeated, Jupiter divided the universe among himself and his brothers. He took the sky for himself, Neptune took the sea, and Pluto took the underworld. Jupiter was not a faithful husband. Despite being married to Juno, the queen of the gods, he had countless affairs with goddesses, nymphs, and mortal women. Many of the heroes and minor gods of Roman and Greek mythology were said to be his children. Hercules, Perseus, Helen of Troy, the list goes on and on. Juno was perpetually jealous, and her wrath often fell upon Jupiter's lovers and illegitimate children. The planet Jupiter lives up to its kingly name. It dominates the outer solar system, its massive gravity shaping the orbits of asteroids and comets, protecting the inner planets from some impacts while flinging others our way. Jupiter has at least 95 known moons, including 4 large ones discovered by Galileo Galilei in 1610: Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. These are called the Galilean moons, and each is a world unto itself. Io is the most volcanically active body in the solar system, its surface constantly reshaped by eruptions. Europa has a smooth, icy crust that may conceal a vast ocean of liquid water beneath, making it one of the most promising places to search for extraterrestrial life. Ganymede is the largest moon in the solar system, bigger even than the planet Mercury. Callisto is ancient and heavily cratered, a testament to billions of years of cosmic bombardment. Jupiter itself is a world of storms and swirling clouds. Its atmosphere is made mostly of hydrogen and helium, with bands of ammonia clouds in various shades of white, orange, and brown. The most famous feature is the Great Red Spot, a massive storm that has been raging for at least 400 years, possibly much longer. The Great Red Spot is so large that 2 or 3 Earths could fit inside it. It is a hurricane that never ends, a testament to the immense power and energy of the King of Planets. Deep beneath the clouds, the pressure becomes so intense that hydrogen is squeezed into a metallic liquid, conducting electricity and generating a magnetic field far stronger than Earth's. At the very center of Jupiter, there may be a core of rock and ice, perhaps 10 to 20 times the mass of Earth, hidden beneath thousands of miles of compressed gas and liquid. Jupiter takes about 12 Earth years to complete one orbit around the Sun. This slow, stately progression through the constellations made it seem eternal and unchanging to the ancient watchers, befitting the king of the gods. It is a world of power and majesty, of storms and moons and mysteries, and it carries its name with dignity. As we continue our outward journey, the distances grow ever larger, the sun's light ever dimmer. We are entering the realm of the oldest god, the one who ruled before Jupiter, the one who was overthrown and cast down, Saturn. Saturn orbits the Sun at an average distance of about 886 million miles. Its year is about 29.5 Earth years long. This means that Saturn moves very slowly through the constellations, taking nearly 3 decades to complete one circuit of the sky. To the ancient watchers, this slowness made Saturn seem ancient and venerable, like an old man walking with measured steps, in no hurry because he has all the time in the world. The Romans named this slow wanderer after Saturn, the god of agriculture, time, and the harvest. Saturn was one of the oldest gods in the Roman pantheon, predating even Jupiter. In the mythological timeline, Saturn ruled during a golden age, a time of peace and plenty when humans lived in harmony with nature and each other. There was no war, no toil, no suffering. The earth gave forth her bounty freely, and everyone had enough. But this golden age could not last. Saturn had been warned that one of his children would overthrow him, just as he had overthrown his own father, Caelus, the sky god. In a desperate attempt to prevent this prophecy from coming true, Saturn swallowed each of his children as they were born. But as we have already heard, Jupiter escaped this fate, grew to manhood, and returned to challenge his father. Saturn was defeated and overthrown, and the Golden Age came to an end. In some versions of the myth, Saturn fled to Italy after his defeat and civilized the primitive inhabitants, teaching them agriculture and the arts of civilization. The Romans celebrated this memory every December with a festival called Saturnalia, a week of feasting, gift-giving, and revelry during which the normal social order was suspended. Masters served their slaves, gambling was permitted, and everyone ate and drank and made merry. Many scholars believe that Saturnalia influenced the later Christian celebration of Christmas. Saturn was also associated with time. The Greeks called him Kronos, a name that sounds like Chronos, the Greek word for time, and this association carried over to the Roman Saturn. He was often depicted as an old man with a long beard, carrying a scythe, a symbol of the harvest, but also of the way time cuts down all things eventually. This image of the old man with the scythe evolved over the centuries into our modern figure of Father Time. The planet Saturn is perhaps the most visually stunning object in the solar system. It is famous for its rings, vast structures of ice and rock that encircle the planet like a cosmic halo. The rings are mostly made of particles ranging in size from tiny grains to house-sized chunks, all orbiting Saturn in a flat plane. They extend for hundreds of thousands of miles from the planet, but are remarkably thin, only about 30 feet thick in most places. When Galileo first observed Saturn through his telescope in 1610, he was puzzled by what he saw. The planet seemed to have ears, or handles, on either side. His telescope was not powerful enough to resolve the rings clearly, so he described Saturn as having a triple form. It was not until later, when the Dutch astronomer Christian Huygens observed Saturn with a better telescope, that the true nature of the rings was understood. Saturn is the second largest planet in our solar system, with a diameter of about 72,400 miles. Like Jupiter, it is made mostly of hydrogen and helium, a gas giant with no solid surface. Its atmosphere features bands of clouds and occasional storms, though they are generally less vivid than Jupiter's. One striking feature is a hexagonal storm at Saturn's North Pole, a six-sided jet stream that has been spinning for decades, perhaps centuries. Saturn has the lowest density of any planet in our solar system. It is so light relative to its size that it would float on water if you could find an ocean big enough to hold it. This fact seems almost whimsical, a cosmic joke, the ancient god of time and heaviness floating like a cork. Saturn has many moons, including Titan, the second largest moon in the solar system, and the only moon with a thick atmosphere. Titan's atmosphere is mostly nitrogen, like Earth's, but its surface is a frozen world of methane lakes and hydrocarbon dunes. Another moon, Enceladus, has geysers that shoot water ice into space, suggesting a subsurface ocean that might, like Europa, be a potential home for life. The rings of Saturn are slowly disappearing. They are gradually falling into the planet, pulled by gravity, and in another 100 million years or so, they may be gone entirely. We are lucky to live in an era when the rings exist in all their glory, a gift from the cosmos that will not last forever. But then, nothing does. Saturn, the god of time, reminds us of that. We have now visited the 5 planets known to the ancients, the wandering lights they could see with their naked eyes. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn were all known thousands of years before the invention of the telescope, and their names come from a direct line of cultural transmission. Babylonian gods became Greek gods, became Roman gods, became planet names. But the story does not end there. In the centuries that followed, as telescopes grew more powerful and astronomy advanced, new planets were discovered, worlds the ancients never knew existed. And when it came time to name these new discoveries, the astronomers of later ages continued the tradition, reaching back into ancient mythology to find names that fit. Let us take a brief rest before we continue into the outer darkness. The sun is very far away now, a bright star in the distance, and the cold of deep space surrounds us. But we are warm in our imaginations, wrapped in the stories of gods and planets, drifting gently through the cosmos on a river of words. In 1781, a musician and amateur astronomer named William Herschel was scanning the night sky with a telescope of his own design from his backyard in Bath, England. He was not looking for planets. He was cataloging stars and searching for interesting nebulae. But on the night of March 13, he noticed something unusual, a faint object that appeared to be a disk rather than a point of light. At first, he thought it might be a comet. But as weeks passed and astronomers around the world observed the object, its true nature became clear. It was a planet, a new planet, the first planet to be discovered since ancient times. The discovery caused a sensation. For thousands of years, people had believed there were only 5 planets besides Earth. The number seemed fixed, eternal, part of the order of the universe. Now, suddenly, there was a 6th. The boundaries of the solar system had expanded, and the sense of cosmic order had been shaken. Herschel wanted to name the new planet Georgium Sidus, George's star, in honor of his patron, King George III of England. This name was popular in Britain, but was met with resistance elsewhere. Other astronomers proposed different names. For a time, some called the planet simply Herschel, after its discoverer. Eventually, a name was settled upon that followed the ancient tradition, Uranus. This was the Latinized form of Uranos, the Greek god of the sky, the primordial deity who was the father of the Titans and the grandfather of the Olympian gods. In Greek mythology, Uranos was one of the first beings to emerge from chaos, the formless void that existed before creation. He became the consort of Gaia, the earth goddess, and together they produced the Titans, the Cyclopes, and other primordial creatures. Uranos was a harsh father, imprisoning some of his children in Tartarus, the deepest part of the underworld. Gaia, distressed by her husband's cruelty, persuaded one of her sons, the Titan Kronos, to overthrow him. Kronos castrated Uranos with a sickle and took his place as ruler of the cosmos. Naming the new planet Uranus had a certain logical elegance. Saturn, the father of Jupiter, was the next planet out. Uranus, the father of Saturn, was the next one beyond that. The planetary names now traced a genealogy of the gods, from grandfather to father to son. Uranus is a strange and distant world. It orbits the Sun at an average distance of about 1,800,000,000 miles, taking 84 Earth years to complete one orbit. It is about 4 times the diameter of Earth, making it the third largest planet in our solar system. Unlike Jupiter and Saturn, which are gas giants, made mostly of hydrogen and helium, Uranus is classified as an ice giant, composed largely of water, ammonia, and methane ices beneath a thick atmosphere of hydrogen and helium. The methane in Uranus's atmosphere gives the planet its distinctive blue-green color. Methane absorbs red light and reflects blue light, creating that cool, ethereal hue. When you look at images of Uranus, it appears as a featureless blue-green sphere, calm and mysterious. One of the most unusual things about Uranus is its tilt. Most planets in our solar system rotate with their axes roughly perpendicular to their orbital planes, like tops spinning upright. But Uranus is tipped over on its side with an axial tilt of about 98 degrees. This means that Uranus rolls around the Sun like a ball rather than spinning like a top. No one knows for certain why Uranus is tilted this way, but the leading theory is that early in the history of the solar system, something very large, perhaps an Earth-sized object, crashed into Uranus and knocked it over. This extreme tilt creates bizarre seasons on Uranus. During the planet's summer and winter solstices, one pole points almost directly at the Sun, while the other pole is in complete darkness. Each pole experiences about 42 years of continuous sunlight, followed by 42 years of continuous night. Uranus has 27 known moons, all named after characters from the works of William Shakespeare and Alexander Pope. Miranda, Ariel, Umbriel, Titania, Oberon, these names come from The Tempest, The Rape of the Lock, and A Midsummer Night's Dream. It is a departure from the tradition of using Greco-Roman mythology for naming, reflecting the English heritage of Uranus's discoverer. Uranus also has a system of thin, dark rings, much fainter than Saturn's, but present nonetheless. They were discovered in 1977 when astronomers observing Uranus pass in front of a distant star noticed that the star blinked on and off several times before and after the main occultation, revealing the presence of the rings. The sky god Uranus, buried beneath layers of ice and gas, tilted over on his side, rolling through the cold reaches of the outer solar system. It is a fitting resting place for the ancient deity who was overthrown by his own son and relegated to the edges of the cosmos. Beyond Uranus lies the final classical planet, the last of the great wanderers known before the 20th century. It is a world of deep blue, a world discovered not by accident but by mathematics, a world named after the god who rules the sea. In the years following the discovery of Uranus, astronomers noticed something strange. The new planet was not quite following the orbit that Newton's laws of gravity predicted. It was being tugged by something, some unseen mass pulling it off course. Two young mathematicians, John Couch Adams in England and Urbain Le Verrier in France, independently calculated where this unseen object must be. They predicted its position based on the gravitational wobbles it was causing in Uranus's orbit. In 1846, the astronomer Johann Galle at the Berlin Observatory pointed his telescope at the position Leverrier had specified and found a new planet within 1 degree of the predicted location. It was a triumph of mathematics, a demonstration that the laws of physics discovered by Newton were universal, applying not just to falling apples and orbiting moons, but to objects billions of miles away that no human eye had ever seen. The new planet was named Neptune, after the Roman god of the sea. Neptune, in Roman mythology, was the brother of Jupiter and Pluto. After the Titans were defeated and Saturn was overthrown, the three brothers divided the universe among themselves. Jupiter took the sky, Pluto took the underworld, and Neptune took the sea. Neptune was a powerful and temperamental god, ruling over all the oceans, rivers, and lakes. He was often depicted holding a trident, a three-pronged spear that he used to stir up storms, create new islands, and shake the very foundations of the earth. Neptune was worshipped by sailors and fishermen, who prayed to him for safe voyages and good catches. He was also associated with horses, and some myths claim that he created the first horse as a gift to humanity. The Romans held festivals in his honor, including the Neptunalia in July, when people would build huts of branches and foliage, feast outdoors, and pray for relief from the summer heat. The planet Neptune is a beautiful and violent world. It has the strongest winds in the solar system, with gusts reaching up to 1,200 miles per hour. Its deep blue color comes from methane in its atmosphere, which absorbs red light and reflects blue, just like Uranus. But Neptune is a deeper, richer blue, perhaps because of some additional compound that has not yet been identified. Neptune orbits the Sun at an average distance of about 2,800,000,000 miles. Its year is about 165 Earth years long. It is so far away that it receives only about 1/900th of the sunlight that Earth receives. And yet, despite this remoteness from the Sun, Neptune generates more internal heat than Uranus, driving its fierce winds and dynamic weather systems. Neptune has 14 known moons, the largest of which is Triton. Triton is one of the most unusual moons in the solar system. It orbits Neptune in a retrograde direction, meaning it moves opposite to the planet's rotation. This suggests that Triton was not formed alongside Neptune, but was captured from the Kuiper Belt, a region of icy bodies beyond Neptune. Triton has a thin atmosphere of nitrogen, and geysers on its surface shoot plumes of nitrogen gas and dust miles into the sky. Neptune also has a faint ring system discovered by the Voyager 2 spacecraft when it flew past the planet in 1989. The rings are made of dust and small particles, and they are much darker and less spectacular than Saturn's. But they are there, another echo of the ringed glory that seems to be common among the giant planets. The god of the sea, riding his chariot through the deepest blue, lord of storms and horses, brother of the king. Neptune is a fitting name for this distant, windswept world, the last of the classical planets, the final member of the ancient pantheon to take its place in the sky. But the story has one more chapter, a coda that takes us to the very edge of the solar system and into the realm of the god of the underworld. For much of the 20th century, our solar system was said to have 9 planets. The 9th, discovered in 1930 by a young American astronomer named Clyde Tombaugh, was called Pluto. Tombaugh was working at the Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona, searching for a planet that the observatory's founder, Percival Lowell, had predicted based on supposed irregularities in the orbits of Uranus and Neptune. Lowell called this hypothetical planet Planet X, and he spent years searching for it before his death in 1916. Tombaugh continued the search, using a device called a blink comparator to examine photographic plates of the night sky, looking for any object that moved against the background of fixed stars. On February 18, 1930, Tombaugh found it. A tiny point of light had shifted position between 2 plates, taken several nights apart. It was dim and distant, far beyond Neptune, but it was definitely something new. The discovery was announced on March 13, 1930, the anniversary of Percival Lowell's birth and the date William Herschel had discovered Uranus 149 years earlier. Suggestions for naming the new planet poured in from around the world. But the name that was ultimately chosen came from an 11-year-old girl in Oxford, England, named Venetia Burney. Venetia was interested in classical mythology, and when her grandfather told her about the new planet, she suggested it be called Pluto after the Roman god of the underworld. The name fit perfectly. Pluto was the lord of the dead, the ruler of the dark realm beneath the earth, where the souls of the departed went after death. A planet so distant, so cold, so shrouded in darkness could hardly have a more appropriate name. Pluto, in Roman mythology, was the brother of Jupiter and Neptune. After the defeat of the Titans, he received the underworld as his domain. Unlike his brothers, who ruled the bright sky and the vast sea, Pluto ruled over a realm of shadows, a place where no living person went and from which few ever returned. Pluto was not a god of evil. The underworld he ruled was not a place of punishment for sinners, not exactly. It was simply the abode of the dead, the destination of all mortal souls, regardless of their deeds in life. Pluto was a stern but fair ruler, maintaining the boundaries between the living and the dead, ensuring that the cycles of existence continued as they should. The most famous myth about Pluto is the story of his abduction of Proserpina, the daughter of the goddess Ceres. Pluto fell in love with Proserpina and carried her off to the underworld to be his queen. Ceres, the goddess of agriculture and the harvest, was devastated by the loss of her daughter. In her grief, she neglected the earth, causing crops to wither and die, bringing famine and winter upon the world. Eventually, Jupiter intervened, decreeing that Proserpina could return to the surface, but only if she had not eaten anything in the underworld. Unfortunately, Proserpina had eaten 6 pomegranate seeds, so a compromise was reached. She would spend 6 months of each year with her mother on the surface and 6 months with her husband in the underworld. This myth explained the seasons. When Proserpina was above ground, Ceres rejoiced and the earth flourished in spring and summer. When Proserpina returned to the underworld, Ceres mourned, and the earth fell into autumn and winter. The planet Pluto is a small, icy world, far smaller than anyone expected. When it was first discovered, astronomers assumed it must be large enough to cause the gravitational perturbations that had led to its discovery. But over the decades, as measurements improved, Pluto kept shrinking. By the late 20th century, it was clear that Pluto was far too small to have any significant gravitational effect on Uranus or Neptune. The perturbations that had supposedly led to its discovery were, it turned out, not real. They were the result of measurement errors. Pluto's discovery was a happy accident. Pluto is only about 1,470 miles in diameter, smaller than Earth's moon. It orbits the Sun at an average distance of about 3,670,000,000 miles, taking 248 Earth years to complete one orbit. Its orbit is highly elliptical and tilted relative to the plane of the other planets, unlike any of the classical worlds. In 2006, the International Astronomical Union made a controversial decision. They defined, for the first time, what it means to be a planet. According to their new definition, a planet must orbit the Sun, must have enough mass for its own gravity to pull it into a roughly spherical shape, and must have cleared the neighborhood around its orbit of other debris. Pluto meets the first two criteria, but fails the third. Its orbit overlaps with the Kuiper Belt, a vast region of icy bodies left over from the formation of the solar system. Pluto is just one of many similar objects in this region, not a dominant body that has cleared its orbital path. And so Pluto was reclassified as a dwarf planet, a new category created to account for objects like it. This decision was met with dismay by many people who had grown up thinking of Pluto as the ninth planet. But in scientific terms, the reclassification made sense. Pluto belongs to a different family than the classical planets, a family of icy objects at the edge of the solar system, remnants of the primordial disk from which the planets formed. In 2015, NASA's New Horizons spacecraft flew past Pluto, giving us our first close-up look at this distant world. The images that came back were stunning. Pluto turned out to be a geologically active and surprisingly diverse world, with mountains of water ice, plains of frozen nitrogen, and a thin atmosphere of nitrogen, methane, and carbon monoxide. A large, heart-shaped feature on its surface, informally named Tombaugh Regio after Pluto's discoverer, became one of the most iconic images of the space age. Pluto has 5 known moons. The largest, Charon, is so big relative to Pluto that the two are sometimes called a double dwarf planet. They orbit a common center of gravity located in the space between them, locked in an eternal gravitational embrace. The other 4 moons, Nix, Hydra, Kerberos, and Styx, are much smaller, mere chips of ice and rock circling the Pluto-Charon system. All of Pluto's moons are named after figures associated with the underworld in Greek and Roman mythology. Charon was the ferryman who carried souls across the river Styx to the realm of the dead. Styx was the river itself, the boundary between the world of the living and the world of the dead. Hydra was the many-headed serpent that Hercules slew as one of his labors. Nyx was the goddess of night, mother of Charon. Kerberos, also spelled Cerberus, was the three-headed dog who guarded the gates of the underworld, preventing the dead from escaping and the living from entering. So the god of the underworld keeps his court at the edge of the solar system, surrounded by his ferryman, his river, his guard dog, and the darkness of night. It is a fitting end to our journey through the planets, a final station before the stars. Let us pause here for a moment in the cold and quiet darkness at the edge of the solar system. We have traveled a great distance from the swift messenger darting near the sun to the Lord of the Dead dwelling in perpetual twilight. We have met gods of love and war, of kings and titans, of the sky and the sea. We have seen how the ancient peoples looked up at the wandering lights and saw their myths reflected in the heavens. The names of the planets are more than just labels. They are connections, threads that link us to the past, to the generations of human beings who looked up at the same lights and wondered what they meant. When we speak of Mercury and Venus, Mars and Jupiter, Saturn and Uranus, and Neptune and Pluto, we are participating in a tradition that stretches back thousands of years, a tradition of wonder and storytelling, of trying to make sense of the universe by filling it with meaning. The gods are not real, of course, not in the literal sense. There is no bearded king sitting on a throne on Jupiter, no goddess of love dancing among the clouds of Venus. The planets are balls of rock and gas, ice and dust, governed by the laws of physics, indifferent to human stories. But the names remain, a gift from our ancestors, a reminder that the universe we study is also the universe we imagine, that science and mythology are both ways of reaching toward the unknown. Now, let us take the time to explore some of the deeper currents of this story, the ways in which the ancient understanding of the planets shaped not just their names, but the very structure of human culture. For the planets were not just wandering lights to be named and catalogued. They were powers, influences, forces that were believed to shape the destinies of individuals and nations. And the study of these influences became one of the most enduring traditions in human history. Astrology. Astrology is the belief that the positions of the sun, moon, and planets at the moment of a person's birth influence their personality, their fate, and their future. It is one of the oldest continuous traditions in human culture, dating back at least to the Babylonians and probably earlier. For thousands of years, astrology was not distinguished from astronomy. The people who studied the movements of the stars and planets did so in part to understand their physical nature, but also in part to predict the future, to advise kings and generals, to determine auspicious days for planting and harvesting, for marriage and war. Each planet was associated with particular qualities, particular influences, particular spheres of life. These associations were based on the same observations that gave the planets their mythological names. Mercury, swift and clever, ruled communication, commerce, and intellect. Venus, bright and beautiful, ruled love, beauty, and pleasure. Mars, red and fierce, ruled war, conflict, and aggression. Jupiter, large and majestic, ruled expansion, luck, and authority. Saturn, slow and ancient, ruled time, discipline, and limitation. These planetary associations became embedded in the very fabric of Western culture. The days of the week, for example, are named after the planets, each ruled by a planetary god. Sunday is the day of the sun. Monday is the day of the moon. Tuesday is named after the Germanic god Ty, who was associated with Mars. Wednesday is named after Woden, the Germanic equivalent of Mercury. Thursday is named after Thor, associated with Jupiter. Friday is named after Frigg, associated with Venus. Saturday is the day of Saturn. In the Romance languages, the planetary origins are even clearer. In Spanish, for example, Martes means Tuesday and comes directly from Mars. Miércoles, Wednesday, comes from Mercury. Jueves, Thursday, comes from Jupiter. Viernes, Friday, comes from Venus. Sábado, Saturday, comes from the Hebrew word Shabbat, but in other Romance languages like French, Saturday is Samedi, from Saturn. The influence of the planets extended into medicine as well. In the medieval and Renaissance periods, physicians believed that the planets governed different parts of the body and different diseases. Mercury ruled the nervous system and respiratory ailments. Venus ruled the kidneys and venous blood. Mars ruled the muscles and fevers. Jupiter ruled the liver and arterial blood. Saturn ruled the bones and chronic diseases. Treatments were often timed according to favorable planetary positions, and herbal remedies were associated with particular planets based on the qualities they were believed to share. This medical astrology may seem strange to us today, but it was taken very seriously for centuries. Many of the greatest scientists of the early modern period, including Kepler and Newton, studied astrology alongside astronomy, seeing them as two aspects of the same grand inquiry into the nature of the cosmos. Astrology also shaped the way people thought about personality and temperament. The four humors, the bodily fluids that were believed to determine a person's disposition, were each associated with planetary influences. Blood, associated with Jupiter, made a person sanguine, cheerful, optimistic, and social. Yellow bile, associated with Mars, made a person choleric, ambitious, energetic, and prone to anger. Black bile, associated with Saturn, made a person melancholic, thoughtful, introspective, and prone to sadness. Phlegm, associated with the moon and water, made a person phlegmatic, calm, steady, and sometimes sluggish. These associations persisted for centuries, influencing everything from literature to art to politics. When Shakespeare wrote about the melancholy Dane Hamlet or the choleric King Lear, he was drawing on a tradition that linked human psychology to the movements of the planets. When Renaissance painters depicted the Roman gods, they were illustrating not just ancient myths, but contemporary beliefs about the cosmic forces that shaped human life. Even today, when most people do not believe in the literal influence of the planets on human affairs, the language of astrology persists. We speak of someone being mercurial, meaning quick and changeable. We call a cheerful person jovial, from Jupiter or Jove. We describe a gloomy person as saturnine. We say that lovers are star-crossed, as Romeo and Juliet were, their fate written in the heavens. These words are fossils of an older worldview, embedded in our language like ancient shells in sedimentary rock. The zodiac itself, the band of constellations through which the sun, moon, and planets appear to move, is another legacy of the ancient association between astronomy and mythology. The 12 signs of the zodiac, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, are named after constellations that were identified by the Babylonians and Greeks. Each sign was associated with particular planetary rulers and particular qualities. Aries, the ram, was ruled by Mars and associated with initiative and aggression. Taurus, the bull, was ruled by Venus and associated with stability and sensuality. And so on, around the great wheel of the year. Whether or not you believe in astrology, whether you think the positions of the planets at your birth have any influence on your life, there is something beautiful in this ancient attempt to find meaning in the movements of the heavens. The people who watched the night sky thousands of years ago were trying to understand their place in the cosmos, to find patterns and purposes in the seemingly random events of life. They looked up at the wandering lights and saw not just balls of rock and gas, but divine beings, cosmic forces, a celestial drama playing out above their heads. We have learned a great deal since then. We know that the planets are worlds, some of them vastly larger than our own, some of them harboring conditions that might support life. We know that they move according to the laws of gravity, that their orbits can be predicted with exquisite precision, that there is no magical influence passing from their positions to human affairs. But we have also, perhaps, lost something. We have lost the sense of wonder and mystery that the ancient star watchers felt, the sense that the universe is not just a machine, but a story, not just a collection of objects, but a drama in which we are all participating. Tonight, as you lie beneath the sky, real or imagined, perhaps you can feel a little of that ancient wonder. The planets are still there, wandering through the constellations just as they did thousands of years ago. Mercury is still the swift messenger, darting near the sun. Venus is still the brightest light in the sky, the goddess of beauty. Mars is still red, still the warrior. Jupiter is still the king, Saturn still the ancient sage. They have not changed. Only our understanding of them has changed, and our understanding is always growing, always deepening, always revealing new wonders. Let us continue our journey now, exploring some of the lesser-known stories and connections that weave through this tapestry of myth and astronomy. For the planets are not the only celestial bodies named after gods and mythological figures. The moons, the asteroids, the features on planetary surfaces, all of these carry names from the rich treasury of human imagination. We have already mentioned the Galilean moons of Jupiter, Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Each of these names comes from Greek mythology, and each has a story to tell. Io was a priestess of the goddess Hera, the Greek equivalent of Juno. Zeus, the king of the gods, fell in love with Io and seduced her. When Hera discovered the affair, Zeus tried to hide Io by transforming her into a white cow. But Hera was not fooled. She demanded the cow as a gift and set her 100-eyed servant Argus to watch over Io and prevent Zeus from visiting her. Zeus sent Hermes to kill Argus and free Io, but even then, Hera did not relent. She sent a gadfly to torment Io, driving her to wander across the world in endless flight from the stinging insect. Eventually, after many trials, Io reached Egypt, where Zeus restored her to human form, and she became the ancestor of several great heroes. The moon Io is a fitting namesake for this tormented wanderer. It is the most volcanically active body in the solar system. Its surface constantly reshaped by eruptions, its interior heated by the tidal forces of Jupiter's enormous gravity. Io is a world of fire and sulfur, of lava lakes and volcanic plumes, forever churning and changing, never at rest. Europa was a Phoenician princess whose beauty attracted the attention of Zeus. The god disguised himself as a magnificent white bull and mingled with the herds grazing near where Europa was playing with her companions. Charmed by the gentle bull, Europa climbed onto its back, and Zeus immediately carried her off across the sea to the island of Crete. There, he revealed his true identity, and Europa became the mother of several of Zeus's children, including Minos, the legendary king of Crete. The moon, Europa, is a world of ice and water, its surface covered by a smooth, icy shell crisscrossed by long, dark lines. Beneath that icy shell, scientists believe, lies a vast ocean of liquid water, kept warm by tidal heating from Jupiter's gravity. This ocean may be more than 60 miles deep, containing more water than all of Earth's oceans combined. It is one of the most promising places in our solar system to search for extraterrestrial life, a world where the conditions for life, liquid water, energy, and possibly the necessary chemical ingredients may all be present. Ganymede was a young Trojan prince so beautiful that Zeus fell in love with him. The god sent his eagle to carry Ganymede up to Mount Olympus, where the young man became the cupbearer of the gods, serving nectar and ambrosia at their feasts. In some versions of the myth, Ganymede was placed among the stars as the constellation Aquarius, the water-bearer. The moon Ganymede is the largest moon in our solar system, larger even than the planet Mercury. It is a world of ice and rock, with an ancient, heavily cratered surface in some regions, and younger, grooved terrain in others. Ganymede has its own magnetic field, the only moon known to have one, generated by a liquid iron core deep within its interior. Callisto was a nymph, a follower of the goddess Artemis, sworn to remain a virgin huntress in the wild forests. Zeus, ever unfaithful, desired Callisto and seduced her by disguising himself as Artemis. When Callisto became pregnant, her condition was discovered, and Artemis expelled her from her band of followers. Later, Hera, jealous as always, transformed Callisto into a bear. Callisto's son, Arcas, grew up to become a hunter, and one day he encountered his mother in her bear form and was about to kill her when Zeus intervened, placing both mother and son in the sky as the constellations Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, the Great Bear and the Little Bear. The moon Callisto is the most heavily cratered body in the solar system, its surface bearing the scars of billions of years of impacts. Unlike the other Galilean moons, Callisto shows no signs of geological activity. It is a quiet, ancient world, frozen in time, a testament to the violence of the early solar system. The moons of Saturn also carry mythological names, though from a different tradition. When William Herschel and his son John discovered several of Saturn's moons in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, they named them after the Titans, the elder gods who ruled before the Olympians. Titan, the largest, is named after the Titans collectively. The others, Rhea, Iapetus, Dione, Tethys, Enceladus, Mimas, Hyperion, and Phoebe, are all named after individual titans or titanesses from Greek mythology. Rhea was the mother of the Olympian gods, the wife of Cronos who hid baby Zeus from his father's hunger. Iapetus was the father of Prometheus, who brought fire to humanity, and Atlas, who was condemned to hold up the sky. Dione was a titaness associated with the oracle at Dodona. Tethys was a sea goddess, the mother of the river gods and the Oceanids. Enceladus was a giant, not technically a titan, who was defeated by the goddess Athena and buried beneath Mount Etna, his struggles causing volcanic eruptions. Mimas was another giant, slain by Heracles. Hyperion was the titan of light, the father of the sun, the moon, and the dawn. Phoebe was a titaness associated with the moon and prophecy. These names connect Saturn and its moons to the generation of gods that came before the Olympians, fitting for a planet named after the father of Jupiter. When you look at the Saturn system, you are looking at a miniature mythological family, the ancient powers gathered around their patriarch. The moons of Uranus, as we mentioned earlier, break with the Greco-Roman tradition and are named after characters from English literature. Oberon and Titania, the two largest, are the king and queen of the fairies in Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. Ariel and Miranda come from The Tempest, Shakespeare's play about a magician stranded on an enchanted island. Umbriel is from Alexander Pope's poem, The Rape of the Lock, a melancholy sprite who presides over the Cave of Spleen. Other moons of Uranus are named after characters from Shakespeare's plays: Juliet, Ophelia, Desdemona, Rosalind, Portia, and many more. This literary naming scheme was established early in the history of Uranus's moon discoveries and has been continued as new moons are found. It gives the Uranian system a distinctly English flavor, a reminder that the planet was discovered by a British astronomer during the reign of King George III. The moons of Neptune return to the Greco-Roman tradition, with names drawn from the myths of the sea god. Triton, the largest, is named after Neptune's son, a merman, who served as his father's herald, blowing on a conch shell to calm or raise the waves. Nereid is named after the sea nymphs, the daughters of the sea god Nereus, who danced in the waves and attended Poseidon, the Greek equivalent of Neptune. Proteus, Thalassa, Despina, Galatea, Larissa. These are all figures from Greek sea mythology, attendants and companions of the Lord of the Ocean. Even the moons of Pluto, as we noted, follow the theme of their parent body. Charon, the ferryman, Styx the river, Nyx the night, Hydra the serpent, Kerberos the hound, all of them figures from the realm of the dead, all of them gathered around the god of the underworld, and the naming does not stop at moons. The asteroids, those rocky fragments that orbit the sun mostly between Mars and Jupiter, also carry mythological names. The first asteroid to be discovered, found in 1801 by the Italian astronomer Giuseppe Piazzi, was named Ceres after the Roman goddess of agriculture and the harvest. Ceres was the mother of Proserpina, whose abduction by Pluto we discussed earlier, and the goddess whose grief caused the seasons. Today, Ceres is classified not as an asteroid but as a dwarf planet, the only dwarf planet in the inner solar system. It is a round body about 590 miles in diameter, with a thin atmosphere and possibly a subsurface ocean. The Dawn spacecraft orbited Ceres from 2015 to 2018, revealing a world of craters and bright spots, the latter probably deposits of sodium carbonate left by water that seeped up from below and evaporated. Other asteroids discovered in the 19th century were also given mythological names. Pallas, the second asteroid found, was named after Athena Pallas, the goddess of wisdom and warfare. Juno, the third, was named after the queen of the gods. Vesta, the fourth, was named after the goddess of the hearth. As more and more asteroids were discovered, mythological names began to run out, and astronomers started using other naming sources. Today, asteroids are named after a wide variety of things: scientists, artists, musicians, places, concepts, even pets. But the tradition of mythological naming continues for the most significant objects, a link to the past, a reminder that even in the age of computer-controlled telescopes and robotic spacecraft, we are still part of the same human family that first looked up and saw gods in the wandering lights. The surfaces of the planets and moons are also covered with names from mythology and history. The craters of Mercury are named after artists, musicians, and writers: Beethoven, Shakespeare, Tolstoy, Murasaki. The mountains and valleys of Venus are named after goddesses and famous women from history and myth: Aphrodite Terra, Ishtar Terra, Diana Chasma. The features of Mars are named after scientists who studied the red planet, places on Earth with Mars-related connections, and words for Mars in various languages. On the moons, the naming conventions vary. The volcanic features of Io are named after gods and goddesses of fire and the sun from mythologies around the world. The craters of Callisto are named after figures from Norse mythology. The features of Titan are named after sacred or enchanted places from world mythology and literature. All of these names, thousands upon thousands of them, form a tapestry of human culture spread across the solar system. When spacecraft visit these distant worlds and send back images, scientists sit down with maps and catalogs and give names to every mountain, crater, and valley. And in doing so, they continue the ancient tradition of making the cosmos meaningful, of turning abstract geography into named places, of weaving human stories into the fabric of the universe. It is a quiet, ongoing project, this naming of worlds. Most people never think about it, never realize that there is a committee at the International Astronomical Union that reviews proposals and approves official names, that there are rules and guidelines for what kinds of names can be used, for what kinds of features, on what kinds of bodies. But the project continues, year after year, as our exploration of the solar system reveals new wonders that need names. And so the gods live on, not just in the names of the planets, but in the names of their features, their moons, their rings. The ancient stories are written across the face of worlds that the ancients never knew existed, a legacy that spans not just time but space, connecting the dreams of long-ago star watchers to the data streaming back from robotic explorers billions of miles away. Let us take another moment to rest, to let these thoughts settle like dust after a gentle breeze. The night is deep now, and the stars are bright. The planets are out there, following their ancient paths, carrying their ancient names. And we are here, warm and safe, drifting on a river of words toward sleep. There is something comforting in the continuity of it all. The same lights that our great-great-grandparents saw, the same lights that the Babylonians and Greeks and Romans saw, are still there. The universe does not hurry. The planets take their time. Mercury completes its orbit in 88 days, but Neptune takes 165 years. Pluto takes 248 years to go around the Sun once. From Pluto's perspective, if it could have a perspective, human history is just a few orbits, a brief moment in a very long journey. And the names we give things, the names the ancients gave, these too are part of that long journey. They are our way of saying that we were here, that we looked up, that we wondered and imagined and dreamed. 1,000 years from now, if humanity survives and thrives, people will still know the names Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. They will still know the stories of the swift messenger and the goddess of beauty, the god of war, and the king of the heavens. The planets will carry those names into a future we cannot imagine, just as they carried them from a past we can barely remember. This is, perhaps, the deepest gift of mythology, not the literal truth of the stories, but the way they connect us to each other and to the universe. When we name a planet after a god, we are saying that this thing out there in the cold darkness of space is related to us, that it has a place in our story, that it matters. The naming is an act of claiming, of belonging, of making the universe a little less indifferent and a little more like home. Now, let us explore one more thread in this tapestry, the story of how our understanding of the planets changed over the centuries, how we went from seeing them as divine beings to seeing them as worlds, and how the mythological names persisted through all those changes. For most of human history, the planets were not thought of as places. They were lights in the sky, objects of wonder and worship, but not worlds you could stand on or explore. The idea that the planets might be other worlds, similar to Earth in some ways, was revolutionary when it first appeared, and it took centuries to become accepted. The ancient Greeks made some remarkable guesses about the nature of the planets. Some philosophers, like Aristarchus of Samos, proposed that the Earth orbited the Sun and that the stars were other suns very far away, but these ideas were not widely accepted. The dominant view, codified by the philosopher Aristotle and the astronomer Ptolemy, was that the Earth sat at the center of the universe, motionless and unique, while the sun, moon, and planets circled around it on crystalline spheres. In this geocentric model, the planets were fundamentally different from the Earth. The Earth was made of the four elements: earth, water, air, and fire, and it was the realm of change and decay, of birth and death. The heavens, by contrast, were made of a fifth element, the quintessence, and they were eternal and unchanging. The planets were not worlds. They were divine lights, moving in perfect circles, exempt from the corruption and imperfection of the sublunary realm. This view persisted for over 1,000 years, supported by the authority of Aristotle and the Church, which adopted geocentrism as part of its cosmology. The planets remained gods, or at least divine symbols, objects of astrological study and religious contemplation, not physical worlds to be explored. The revolution began in the 16th century when a Polish astronomer named Nicolaus Copernicus proposed a new model of the universe. In Copernicus's system, the Sun sat at the center, and the Earth was just another planet, orbiting the Sun along with Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. This heliocentric model was simpler in some ways than the Ptolemaic system, though it still required complex mathematical devices to match the observed motions of the planets. Copernicus's book on the revolutions of the celestial spheres was published in 1543, the year of his death. It did not immediately overthrow the old cosmology, but it planted a seed that would grow over the following decades. The seed sprouted in the early 17th century when the Italian mathematician and astronomer Galileo Galilei turned a newly invented instrument, the telescope, toward the night sky. What he saw changed everything. Galileo observed the moon and saw that its surface was not smooth and perfect, but rough and cratered, like the Earth. He observed Venus and saw that it went through phases, like our moon, which could only be explained if Venus orbited the Sun. He observed Jupiter and saw 4 small lights circling around it, moons that orbited Jupiter just as our moon orbits Earth. He observed Saturn and saw something strange, handles or ears, which we now know to be the planet's rings. These observations did not prove that Copernicus was right, but they strongly suggested that the old Aristotelian cosmology was wrong. The moon had mountains and valleys, just like Earth. Venus and Jupiter had their own systems of light and shadow, their own dynamics, independent of Earth. The heavens were not perfect and unchanging. They were complex and varied, full of wonders that the ancients had never suspected. Galileo's discoveries brought him into conflict with the Catholic Church, which had adopted the geocentric model as official doctrine. He was tried by the Inquisition, forced to recant his support for heliocentrism, and spent the last years of his life under house arrest. But his observations could not be unseen, and the revolution he helped start continued after his death. The German astronomer Johannes Kepler, working from the meticulous observations of the Danish astronomer Tycho Brahe, discovered that the planets did not move in perfect circles, but in ellipses, with the Sun at one focus. This was the final nail in the coffin of the Aristotelian cosmology. The heavens were not made of crystalline spheres. They were empty space through which the planets moved according to mathematical laws. And then came Isaac Newton, who showed that the same force that made an apple fall from a tree also kept the planets in their orbits. Gravity, a universal force acting between all masses, explained the motions of the heavens with elegant precision. The planets were not divine. They were physical objects, obeying the same laws as everything else in the universe. Through all these revolutions, the names of the planets did not change. Mercury was still Mercury. even though it was now understood to be a small, rocky world orbiting close to the sun rather than a divine messenger. Venus was still Venus, even though it was now known to be a planet shrouded in clouds. Mars, Jupiter, Saturn all kept their ancient names, their divine associations, even as they were transformed from gods to worlds. This persistence of the mythological names is remarkable when you think about it. The entire worldview that gave rise to those names was overturned. The planets went from being eternal, divine beings to being physical objects governed by the laws of gravity. The astrological associations, the belief that the planets influenced human affairs, were gradually abandoned by scientists, though they persisted in popular culture. And yet the names remained, a bridge between the old understanding and the new. Perhaps the names persisted simply because they were convenient. Everyone already knew them, why change? But perhaps there is something more. Perhaps the names persisted because they carry meaning that goes beyond the literal. When we call the red planet Mars, we are not claiming that the god of war lives there. We are acknowledging that this world has been important to humanity for thousands of years, that it has a history, a story, a place in our collective imagination. The name is a form of respect, a nod to the past, a recognition that science does not replace mythology, but builds upon it. And so the planets carry their ancient names into the age of space exploration. We send robotic spacecraft to Mercury, to Venus, to Mars, to Jupiter, to Saturn, to Uranus, to Neptune, and we call them by the names the Romans gave them 2,000 years ago. We land rovers on Mars and name them Spirit and Opportunity and Curiosity and Perseverance, but the world they explore is still Mars, still the domain of the war god, still the red wanderer that ancient eyes watched moving through the constellations. This coexistence of science and mythology is one of the beautiful things about human culture. We do not have to choose one or the other. We can understand the planets as physical worlds governed by the laws of physics, and also as symbols, as stories, as names that connect us to our ancestors and to each other. The universe is big enough for both. As we near the end of our journey, let us take a moment to imagine what the future might hold. The names of the planets, the mythological traditions that gave them those names, these are part of our heritage, our inheritance from the past. But the future is being written now by the scientists and engineers who are designing the spacecraft that will explore distant worlds, by the astronauts who dream of walking on Mars, by the students and children who are just beginning to look up at the night sky with wonder. What names will we give to the new worlds we discover? Already, astronomers have found thousands of planets orbiting other stars, exoplanets, worlds beyond our solar system. Most of them have only cataloged numbers, strings of letters and digits that identify their host star and their position in the discovery order. But some have been given proper names, often through public naming campaigns organized by the International Astronomical Union. These new names come from a variety of sources. Some are mythological, drawn from the traditions of cultures around the world, not just Greek and Roman, but Arabic, Chinese, Indian, African, Indigenous American. Some are words from various languages, chosen for their meanings. Some honor scientists and explorers, real or fictional. The naming of exoplanets is a new chapter in the old story of human beings reaching out to the cosmos and claiming it as their own. Perhaps, someday, humans will travel to these distant worlds. Perhaps they will establish colonies, build cities, raise families beneath alien skies, and perhaps they will tell stories about the planets, myths and legends that explain how the worlds came to be, why they are the way they are, what they mean in the grand story of existence. The details of those future myths are unknowable, but the impulse behind them is the same one that drove the Babylonians and Greeks and Romans to name the wandering lights after their gods. It is the impulse to make meaning, to find our place in the universe, to turn the vast and indifferent cosmos into something we can understand and relate to. It is, perhaps, the most human impulse of all. The stars are still there, as they have always been. The planets are still wandering, as they have for billions of years, and human beings are still looking up, still wondering, still dreaming. The names we give to the lights in the sky are our way of saying that we are part of this vast, ancient, ongoing story, that we belong here, that the universe is our home. And now, as our journey draws to a close, let us return to where we began, lying beneath the night sky, watching the gentle lights of the stars and planets. The swift messenger Mercury is there, if you know when and where to look, hovering near the horizon in the twilight. The brilliant Venus is there, the goddess of beauty, outshining everything but the sun and moon. The red Mars is there, the warrior, watching over the night with his steady, ruddy glow. The King Jupiter is there, majestic and serene, ruling from his throne among the stars. The ancient Saturn is there, slow and patient, measuring out the years with his steady progress through the constellations. And beyond them, in the outer darkness, are Uranus and Neptune and Pluto, the grandfather sky god and the lord of the sea and the ruler of the underworld, watching from the edges of our solar system, waiting to be discovered again by each new generation of star watchers. These are the sleepy mythology of the planets, the ancient stories that give meaning to the wandering lights. They are gifts from our ancestors, connections to the past, reminders that the universe we inhabit is also the universe we imagine. As your breathing slows and your body relaxes, as the weight of the day lifts away and you drift toward the shores of sleep, know that the planets are still out there, following their ancient paths, carrying their ancient names. They have been watching over the Earth for billions of years, and they will continue to watch for billions more. There is comfort in that steadiness, that patience, that enduring presence. The swift messenger will still be darting near the sun when you wake. The goddess of beauty will still be blazing in the twilight. The warrior will still be glowing red, the king will still be shining gold, the ancient one will still be creeping slowly through the sky. They do not hurry, they do not worry. They simply are, as they have always been, as they will always be. If you have enjoyed this journey, if you have found it soothing and comforting, you are always welcome to return. There are more stories to tell, more wonders to explore, more quiet nights to spend drifting through the cosmos on a river of words. This channel is here for you, a companion for sleepy science nights, a guide to the gentle mysteries of the universe. But for now, let yourself rest. Let the stories settle into your mind like stars settling into the sky at dusk. Let the names of the gods become a lullaby. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, ancient names, ancient lights, ancient companions in the endless night. The universe is vast, and you are small, but you are not alone. The same stars that shine on you tonight shone on your grandparents and your great-grandparents and all the generations before them, back to the first humans who looked up and wondered. You are part of that long chain of wanderers, that unbroken line of dreamers reaching back through time to the very beginning of human consciousness. And someday, perhaps, your descendants will look up at the same stars, the same planets, and tell stories about them, just as the Babylonians and Greeks and Romans did, just as we do now. The names might change, the stories might evolve, but the wonder will remain. It is the most human thing about us, this capacity for wonder, this need to find meaning in the lights that shine in the darkness. So rest now, beneath the ancient sky. Let the gods watch over you as they have watched over humanity for thousands of years. Let the wandering lights continue their eternal dance, moving through the constellations in patterns that were old when the pyramids were young. Let the cosmos hold you, gently, like a child held in the arms of the night. The journey is over. The story is told. The planets are still there, wandering through the darkness, carrying their names from the past into the future. And you are here, warm and safe, drifting toward sleep, part of the great ongoing story of human beings and the universe they call home. But before we say our final good night, let us linger a little longer in this peaceful space between waking and sleeping. There are still a few more quiet stories to share, a few more gentle thoughts to carry you deeper into rest. Let us think for a moment about the people who first watched the planets, the ancient astronomers who spent their nights on the rooftops of Babylon, in the temples of Egypt, on the hillsides of Greece. They had no electric lights to compete with the stars. They had no internet to distract them, no phones to demand their attention. They had only the sky, vast and dark and brilliant, stretching from horizon to horizon in a way that most of us today have never experienced. Imagine what it must have been like for them. Every clear night, the heavens put on a show. The stars emerged one by one as the twilight faded, then by the dozens, then by the hundreds, then by the thousands, until the entire dome of the sky was filled with light. The Milky Way, our own galaxy seen from the inside, stretched across the sky like a river of milk, so bright and clear that you could read by its light. And among all those fixed stars, a few wanderers traced their slow paths night after night, year after year. These ancient watchers did not have telescopes. They could not see the craters of the moon or the rings of Saturn or the moons of Jupiter. They saw only points of light, some brighter than others, some colored, some moving. And yet, from these simple observations, They built elaborate systems of knowledge, calendars and star charts, predictions and prophecies. They tracked the movements of the planets with such precision that they could predict eclipses centuries in advance. They were, in their own way, scientists, even if they believed that the planets were gods. There is something humbling about this. We often think of ancient peoples as primitive, as superstitious, as less intelligent than ourselves. But the Babylonian astronomers who recorded the movements of the planets on clay tablets, the Greek philosophers who debated the nature of the cosmos, the Roman scholars who compiled encyclopedias of celestial knowledge, these were brilliant minds wrestling with the same fundamental questions that drive science today. What is the universe? How does it work? What is our place in it? They did not have our answers. They did not know about gravity or relativity, about nuclear fusion or the electromagnetic spectrum. But they had the same curiosity, the same drive to understand, the same willingness to spend long nights watching and wondering. And they passed their knowledge down to us, not just in the names of the planets, but in the very idea that the universe can be understood, that the movements of the heavens follow patterns, that careful observation can reveal truths about the cosmos. This is the foundation upon which all modern astronomy is built. When scientists today launch spacecraft to distant planets, when they peer through telescopes at galaxies billions of light years away, when they calculate the orbits of asteroids and the ages of stars, they are continuing a tradition that began on those ancient rooftops with those first patient watchers of the night sky. The names of the planets are just one part of that inheritance, a reminder that science does not spring from nothing, but grows from the accumulated wisdom of countless generations. Let your mind drift now, back through time, to those ancient nights. Imagine yourself lying on a flat rooftop in Babylon 4,000 years ago. The city sleeps below you, its mud brick houses silent in the darkness. Above you, the sky is impossibly vast, impossibly clear. You can see the faint glow of the zodiacal light, sunlight, scattered by dust particles in the plane of the solar system. You can see the dark rifts in the Milky Way, the places where clouds of interstellar dust block the light of distant stars. And you can see the planets, the wanderers, moving slowly through the constellations like messengers of the gods. You do not know that those lights are worlds. You do not know that they are places, with mountains and valleys, with weather and seasons, with moons of their own. You know only that they are special, that they move, that they seem to have wills of their own. And so, you give them names. You call them gods. You watch them and record them, and try to understand what they mean. This is the beginning of astronomy. This is the beginning of science. This is the beginning of the long, slow journey that will eventually take human beings to the moon and send robotic explorers to the farthest reaches of the solar system. And it all started with someone looking up, with someone wondering, with someone refusing to simply accept the lights in the sky as meaningless points of brightness. The planets have been our companions for a very long time. They were there when the first humans emerged from Africa and spread across the world. They were there when the first cities were built, when the first empires rose and fell, when the first books were written. They were there during the Renaissance and the scientific revolution, when our understanding of the cosmos was transformed. They were there during the space age, when we finally sent our machines and our people beyond the Earth. And they will be there long after we are gone, continuing their slow wanderings around the sun, indifferent to whether anyone is watching. There is comfort in that persistence. Human lives are short. Human civilizations rise and fall, but the planets endure. Mercury has been darting near the sun for 4.5 billion years. Venus has been blazing in the twilight for 4.5 billion years. Mars has been glowing red, Jupiter shining gold, Saturn creeping slowly through the constellations for 4.5 billion years. Compared to them, the entire history of human civilization is less than the blink of an eye. And yet, somehow, we have managed to understand them. We have figured out what they are made of, how they formed, how they move, why they behave the way they do. We have sent our robot ambassadors to visit them, to photograph their surfaces, to sample their atmospheres, to land on their moons. We have extended our reach across the solar system, touching worlds that our ancestors could only see as points of light. This is a remarkable achievement. It is easy to take it for granted, to forget how extraordinary it is that a species of curious primates on a small planet around an ordinary star has managed to learn so much about the cosmos. But it is worth pausing to appreciate it, to feel a little pride, a little wonder at what we have accomplished. And it all began with the names. It began with the decision to give those wandering lights identities, to make them part of our stories, to weave them into the fabric of our culture. The names came first, and the understanding followed, slowly, over thousands of years, as each generation built upon the knowledge of the ones that came before. Let us think now about some of the quieter corners of this story, the details that often get overlooked, the small wonders that deserve a moment of attention. Consider, for example, the planet Mercury. We have talked about how it darts near the sun, how it is named after the swift messenger god, how it is a world of extremes, scorched on one side and frozen on the other. But there is more to Mercury than this. Mercury has a very unusual orbit. It is not quite circular, like the orbits of most planets, but noticeably elongated, an ellipse. This means that Mercury's distance from the Sun varies significantly over the course of its year. At its closest approach, called perihelion, Mercury is only about 29 million miles from the Sun. At its farthest point, called aphelion, it is about 43 million miles away. This variation affects how the Sun appears from Mercury's surface. At perihelion, the Sun would appear about 3 times larger in the sky than it does from Earth. At aphelion, it would be somewhat smaller, though still much larger than our familiar Sun. Because of the way Mercury's rotation is synchronized with its orbit, there are strange effects on its surface. Mercury rotates very slowly, taking 59 Earth days to complete one rotation. But its year, one orbit around the Sun, takes only 88 Earth days. This means that, on Mercury, a single solar day from one sunrise to the next takes 1W76 Earth days, twice as long as a Mercury year. If you were standing on Mercury's surface, you would see the sun rise very slowly, then appear to stop and briefly reverse direction before continuing across the sky, then set. And then you would experience an equally long night before the cycle began again. This strange solar motion is caused by the interaction between Mercury's slow rotation and its elliptical orbit. When Mercury is closest to the Sun, it moves faster in its orbit, and for a brief time, its orbital motion outpaces its rotation, making the Sun appear to move backward in the sky. It is a reminder that the clockwork of the heavens, while regular and predictable, can produce effects that seem almost magical. Mercury also has a surprisingly large iron core, making up about 60% of the planet's mass. This is a much higher proportion than any other planet in our solar system. No one knows for certain why Mercury has such a large core. One theory is that in the early solar system, Mercury was struck by a giant impact that stripped away much of its rocky outer layers, leaving behind a planet that is mostly metal. Another theory is that the intense heat of the young sun vaporized some of Mercury's lighter materials. Whatever the explanation, Mercury is a dense little world, a ball of iron with a thin shell of rock, the metallic heart of the inner solar system. Now let us turn to Venus for a moment longer. We have discussed her beauty in the sky and the terrible conditions on her surface. But Venus has other mysteries that are worth contemplating. Venus is sometimes called Earth's twin because the two planets are almost the same size. Venus is about 95% as large as Earth, with about 80% of Earth's mass. If you were to look at the two planets from space, ignoring their atmospheres, they would seem like siblings, rocky worlds of similar bulk, formed from similar materials in similar regions of the young solar system. And yet, Venus and Earth could hardly be more different. Earth has oceans of liquid water, a mild atmosphere, and abundant life. Venus has no liquid water, a crushing atmosphere of carbon dioxide, and surface conditions that would destroy any life we know of within seconds. Why did two similar planets end up so different? The answer seems to lie in their distances from the Sun. Venus is about 25 million miles closer to the Sun than Earth is. In the early solar system, this made a crucial difference. Both planets probably started with similar amounts of water, delivered by comets and asteroids during the period of heavy bombardment. But on Venus, the greater solar heating caused that water to evaporate into the atmosphere. Water vapor is a powerful greenhouse gas, and it trapped more heat, causing more water to evaporate in a feedback loop that eventually boiled away all of Venus's oceans. Without liquid water, Venus could not develop the geological processes that on Earth sequester carbon dioxide in rocks. The carbon dioxide accumulated in the atmosphere, trapping more heat until Venus became the hellish world it is today. This is sometimes called a runaway greenhouse effect, and it is a sobering reminder of how delicate the conditions for life can be. A planet just a little closer to its star, and everything changes. Venus also rotates in the opposite direction from most other planets. If you were standing on Venus and watching the sky, you would see the sun rise in the west and set in the east, the reverse of what we see on Earth. No one knows for certain why Venus rotates backward. It may have been struck by a large object early in its history, an impact that reversed its spin. Or it may be the result of complex gravitational interactions with the Sun and other planets over billions of years. Whatever the cause, Venus is a rebel, spinning against the general flow of the solar system. And Venus rotates very slowly. A day on Venus, from one sunrise to the next, is longer than a Venus year. It takes Venus 243 Earth days to complete one rotation, but only 225 Earth days to orbit the Sun. This means that if you could somehow survive on the surface of Venus, you would experience a year before you experienced a full day. The Sun would creep across the sky with agonizing slowness, its fierce light barely moving from one hour to the next. These are the quiet details of the planets, the facts that do not fit easily into a simple story, but that add depth and texture to our understanding. Each planet is a world unto itself, with its own quirks and mysteries, its own history, its own personality. The names we give them are just the beginning. Behind each name is a universe of complexity, waiting to be explored. Let us think now about the outer planets, those giant worlds of gas and ice that drift through the cold reaches beyond the asteroid belt. Jupiter, as we have discussed, is a world of storms. Its atmosphere is in constant motion, with bands of clouds racing around the planet at different speeds, creating shear zones where massive storms can form and persist for centuries. But the storms of Jupiter are not like storms on Earth. They are powered not by the heat of the Sun, but by the heat rising from Jupiter's interior. Jupiter radiates almost twice as much energy into space as it receives from the Sun. This excess heat comes from the slow gravitational contraction of the planet, a process that has been going on since Jupiter formed 4.5 billion years ago. Deep inside Jupiter, the pressure is so immense that the hydrogen gas that makes up most of the planet is compressed into a liquid, and deeper still, into a metallic state. In this layer of metallic hydrogen, electrons are stripped from their atoms and flow freely, conducting electricity and generating Jupiter's powerful magnetic field. Jupiter's magnetic field is the strongest of any planet in our solar system, about 20,000 times stronger than Earth's. It creates a vast magnetosphere that extends millions of miles into space, trapping charged particles and creating intense radiation belts that would be lethal to unprotected astronauts. Jupiter's moons orbit within this magnetic field, and some of them interact with it in fascinating ways. Io, the volcanic moon, is connected to Jupiter by a flux tube, a stream of charged particles flowing between the moon and the planet. This flux tube carries an electric current of about 5 million amperes, and where it strikes Jupiter's atmosphere, it creates a permanent spot of auroral light. The entire Jovian system is a dynamo, a vast electrical machine powered by the rotation of the planet and the motion of its moons. Saturn, too, has its hidden complexities. We have talked about its beautiful rings, but those rings are not simple structures. They are made up of countless ringlets, separated by gaps of varying widths. Some of these gaps are caused by the gravitational influence of Saturn's moons, which shepherd the ring particles into particular orbits. The most famous gap, the Cassini division, is about 3,000 miles wide and is visible from Earth through a moderate telescope. It is caused by the gravitational resonance with the moon Mimas, which orbits Saturn at a distance that makes particles in the Cassini division unstable. Saturn's rings are also remarkably dynamic. They are constantly being shaped by the gravitational tugs of the moons, by collisions between particles, by the pressure of sunlight, and by the drag of Saturn's extended atmosphere. The rings are not eternal. They are slowly falling into Saturn and will eventually disappear. Some scientists estimate that the rings are only about 100 million years old, a mere moment in Saturn's history. If this is true, then we are lucky to be alive at a time when Saturn has rings. The dinosaurs, if they had telescopes, might have seen a ringless Saturn. Saturn also has storms, though they are generally less visible than Jupiter's because they are hidden beneath a layer of high-altitude haze. But every few decades, a giant storm erupts from the depths of Saturn's atmosphere, a vast white spot that spreads across the planet and lasts for months. The most recent such storm occurred in 2010 when a disturbance grew to encircle the entire northern hemisphere of Saturn. Scientists watched from Earth and from the Cassini spacecraft as the storm evolved, wondering what forces deep within Saturn had triggered such a massive outburst. Uranus and Neptune, the ice giants, are perhaps the most mysterious of all the planets. They are far away, difficult to study, and have been visited by only one spacecraft each. Voyager 2 flew past Uranus in 1986 and Neptune in 1989, and since then, we have had to rely on observations from Earth and from telescopes in orbit. There is still so much we do not know about these distant worlds. Uranus, as we have discussed, is tipped on its side, rolling around the Sun with its poles taking turns facing the star. This extreme tilt affects everything about the planet. Its weather, its seasons, its magnetic field, all are influenced by this unusual orientation. Uranus's magnetic field is particularly strange. It is tilted about 60 degrees from the planet's rotational axis, and it does not pass through the center of the planet, but is offset to one side. This means that the magnetic field varies dramatically as Uranus rotates, creating a complex and chaotic magnetosphere. Neptune, despite being farther from the Sun and receiving less heat, is the more active of the two ice giants. Its atmosphere features dark spots similar to Jupiter's Great Red Spot that come and go over the years. It has the strongest winds in the solar system, driven by some internal heat source that scientists do not fully understand. And it has Triton, that strange captured moon, with its geysers and its backward orbit, a world that hints at the mysteries of the Kuiper Belt from which it came. These are the planets of our solar system, the wanderers that our ancestors watched and named and wove into their myths. Each one is a world, a place, a collection of wonders waiting to be explored. And each one carries a name that connects it to the stories of long ago, a name that reminds us that science and mythology are not opposites, but partners, two ways of making sense of the universe we inhabit. As we draw ever closer to the end of our journey, let the pace slow even further. Let the words become softer, the sentences longer, the spaces between thoughts wider. We are approaching the shores of sleep now, and there is no need to hurry. The night is deep and quiet. The stars are shining. The planets are out there, following their ancient paths, carrying their ancient names. Mercury is darting near the sun, too swift to catch, always just out of reach. Venus is blazing in the twilight, beautiful and deadly, the goddess of love with her dangerous heart. Mars is glowing red, the warrior at rest, watching over the night with his steady, patient gaze. Jupiter is shining gold, the king of the planets, serene and powerful, surrounded by his court of moons. Saturn is there, ancient and ringed, measuring out the centuries with his slow progress through the constellations. And beyond them, in the outer darkness, Uranus and Neptune drift through the cold, waiting for future explorers to come and unveil their secrets. These are your companions tonight, the gods of the sky, the wanderers of the heavens. They have been watching over the earth since before there were eyes to see them, and they will continue watching long after we are gone. They do not judge, they do not demand, they simply are, shining their light down through the vastness of space, a gift from the cosmos to anyone who cares to look up. And you, lying here in the darkness, are part of this vast story. You are made of atoms that were forged in the hearts of ancient stars, atoms that have been circling the galaxy for billions of years, atoms that will continue their journey long after the brief spark of your consciousness has faded. You are stardust, contemplating the stars. You are the universe, becoming aware of itself. And in this moment, this quiet, peaceful moment, you are connected to everything that has ever been and everything that will ever be. Let that thought comfort you as you drift towards sleep. You are not alone. You are part of something vast and ancient and beautiful. The planets are there, the stars are there, the cosmos is there, and you are here, a small but precious part of it all. The journey is almost over now. The story is almost told. But before we say good night, let there be one more moment of quiet, one more breath of stillness, one more chance to feel the peace of the ancient sky. The swift messenger rests near the horizon. The goddess of beauty fades into the growing light of dawn. The warrior dims as the stars begin to disappear. The king and the ancient one sink below the western hills. The night gives way to day, and the planets hide themselves until evening comes again. But they will return. They always return. And whenever you look up at the night sky, they will be there, waiting for you, carrying their ancient names, telling their ancient stories, reminding you that the universe is vast and wonderful and full of mystery. Thank you for traveling with us tonight. Thank you for letting these words carry you toward rest. You are always welcome here in this quiet place of sleepy science, where the stars shine gently and the planets wander slowly and the mysteries of the cosmos unfold in soft, soothing tones. This is the end of our journey, but not the end of the story. The story continues every night, written in the movements of the planets, in the light of the stars, in the dreams of everyone who looks up and wonders. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well, and may your dreams be filled with gentle wandering lights, ancient gods, and the peaceful mystery of the endless sky. The planets are watching, the stars are shining, and all is well. Good night.